Hi, everyone. I am on hour 11 of my 24 in 24 for Sam. So I'm doing 24 talks in 24 hours on today, 24th of July, so 24/7 for us here in the UK, to raise funds for my branch, as well as to raise visibility of the work that we do supporting our callers who are in crisis or who maybe just be going through a tough time and needing some support in space to talk about the things that are really bothering or hurting them. And I was meant to have Kurat to come and help me be my co-host, but I think she's held up, so it's just me. Luckily, it is daytime here in the UK. It's 10 o'clock, so I am awake. I have been awake since 8 p.m. yesterday. Um, but my challenge started at midnight, so I'm okay. So in this particular session, I am talking about how to become a more effective listener. I've given this talk in a few different places, as well as my children's school, and I think all of us could do with a little bit more help in understanding how to be an effective listener. So let me. Oh, by the way, please scan this QR code and donate. I'm fundraising. It keeps the lights on. It keeps the telephony running. It pays for the CRM that we use to log. It pays for our biscuits, which are really important. It pays for training. I'm also a Samaritan's volunteer trainer. So please help because this is so needed. When we're on call, we can see there are 59 people in the queue. So there are less 59, that they're about the people waiting, people in crisis who are waiting because there's not enough volunteers as there are callers. So we do need more support to just to be able to serve our callers better. So there you go, grab the QR code now. Right, so let me tell you my story, who I am in a little Gantt chart, because I'm a project manager by heart. Here you go. Right, so I kind of like started my tech career in the last century, actually. So in that time, I have worked for a lot of consulting partners. So here at Microsoft Partners, then at Salesforce Partner. I now run my own business, about 30 years project delivery, front client facing consulting for the first part, and then a project program delivery manager for the latter part. But the thing that I'm here to talk about, and something that is a core part of my identity, is that I have been a Samaritan's volunteer for 16 years, actually 17 years, because I joined Sam's before my boys were born, and they just turned 16 yesterday, so about 17 years now. What I can say is that you can kind of draw a dotted line over here, and when I started volunteering, a lot of my projects at work started getting a lot easier. Not easier in the implementation sense, but more easier to implement because there's less human drama. Because I was listening better to my team. I was not assuming. I was not trying to, fix things or assume stuff or judge people for how they do things, but really properly listening. I was training my team to listen to each other better, to listen to the client better, to listen to me better. And so we were functioning really well. And so I thought that, it's a very useful skill to have outside of the Samaritans environment. So I'd like to begin by sharing four things that I believe to be true. Now, I shared this in an earlier talk this morning on how to build relationships. But because this is what I have learned in the last 16, 17 years of listening to callers who talk about their lives and their relationships, I was thinking that it might be very useful for me to just share this again over here. Now, the first one is nurture is almost always stronger than nature. So there's the nature nurture debate. So nurture is the environment around us shapes us more, I believe, than our core personality or what we were born with. So uh, um I'll talk about it in a minute. So I was took a long time to try and figure out how to illustrate this particular idea. So here it goes. This is my attempt to try and explain this. Now, if we had an apple seed and you plant that apple seed and you kind of let it grow, you are likely to get an apple bush. It looks like a bush, right? Now, what if you had an apple seed, but and you plant it, but instead of just letting it grow, you nurture it, you water it, you fertilize it with donuts, you give it affirmation. You're going to be the most amazing, yummiest donut apple tree. You might get a donut apple tree, right? So I think a lot of us who are parents or who own pets, that we're trying to kind of like train to be potty trained, for example, we try to use these sort of things, shape the environment to shape the individual. Now, I believe that that is very true. How where we were born, when we were born, the environment we grew up, the family, the culture, the neighborhood, the school that we went to, the or university or not, the work experiences that we've had, the friends that we make, the circle that we belong to, the community, all of this, every single thing, every single experience in our life shapes us and makes us who we are today. So this leads me to the second truth that I believe, which is everyone carries invisible baggage that you will never see, that they'll never tell you. So imagine people who are, in a conference or having a spirited debate or argument. One of the things that because I'm a gamer, if we play games, you can see like a health bar and a mana bar, see like, how much of what is this person. And I try to imagine that people have this bar, and I try to figure out if they are more nurture or more nature, is how they show up more who they are or how they were shaped by previous experience. Now, one of the things that I learned, having been in on volunteering for so long, is that because of this, everyone, have different internal conversations and dialogues and beliefs and hopes and lived experience and level of tolerance. I was just saying to a friend, that could change depending on your stage in life. So as you become more mature, when you have dependents, you've got children and pets and people to look after, your level of tolerance might go down or up. Your standards of cleanliness goes down. That's definitely, I know, it's down. Things like fears and desires and the tragedies that have touched you, all of this will shape the person you are. So imagine, or maybe you don't have to imagine because you've encountered this situation before, where you might have a conversation and a topic comes up, and your colleague suddenly has a meltdown and accuses you of, how dare you say this thing or something like that, and you're thinking, what did I say? What was it that we were discussing that was just so so big in that person's mind? That's because we all have different kind of like trigger words or phrases, things that have touched us differently, that could bring up a lot of emotions. So this is something that we have to remember. All of us have demons that we don't tell others, the battles that we have. So it's 10 o'clock now. We've covered so many topics during my marathon of calls. We talked about grief and death and suicide and burnout and mental health and a lot of these really deep topics. And what's really interesting is a lot of these people are my friends, and I've known some of the things that they've encountered, but not to the level that I've learned today, it's because they've kept it inside and for many reasons may not have shared what they've gone through. So that means that certain things can bring up different feelings for different people based on their lives, the things that they've gone through. And therefore, many are carrying these baggage that you will never know. Someone who is trying to be sober, someone who is trying to heal from grief, they're not going to tell you. They're just going to have this bubble in their head thinking, when will I be okay again? When will I smile again? Is it okay to enjoy this cup of tea and this quiet time when I've just lost someone important and everyone's expecting me to be absolutely, in pieces and things like that. So lots of people are going through these thoughts, these bubbles in their heads. The reason why I know a little bit more is because being on the crisis phone line, people tell me about their bubbles, what they think about, how they felt when someone dismissed them or dismissed their grief and things like that. So remember that everyone carries invisible baggage and they're fighting battles that you will never know, not unless you have the patience to sit down and create a space that they can share this with you. You cannot extract it out of them. The truth number three is that shame is an emotion that is incredibly destructive. Shame is one of the emotions that brings callers to us, whether it's shame that they have not felt met their expectations of themselves, or they've not met someone's expectations of them. So I have been this person before. It's a horrible, horrible feeling when I'm a grown woman and I have this boss who is saying such horrible things that made me feel like, can the um ground open and swallow me up. I just want to disappear. I don't want to be here because obviously I'm, not worthy, right? And so just understanding that shame has no place in a family healthy a work environment, friendship, social environment. Just, that's just one emotion. If I could magically make disappear, that's kind of one of them. I can't think of a positive aspect of shame. Actually, you can't shame someone into behaving in a way that you want them to. So that's kind of like one emotion that I might banish if I had a magic wand. This leads me to my truth number four, which is, the deepest human need is to matter, right? We've got the Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is, things like security, air, food being the bottommost level of need. But, you have people who have food, water, a really fancy house, fancy car, and yet feel that they aren't worthy to be living because they don't feel like they matter, right? So this is something that, I understand quite instinctively, which is why sometimes, when you have interactions, when I have interactions with people, I make myself be present because I want the other person to know what you're saying to me, is important. It matters. I see you, I hear you, I hear your pain, um and it is valid. What you feel is valid. And that's what a lot of people needs, just to feel like I matter. What I say, what I think, what I feel, who I am, mm, the me that I am in my skin, in my head, in my perception of myself, it is okay, and I matter. And if I wasn't here, people would miss me. That is what I believe is the core need of human beings. So I try to, give that in all the interactions that I have with people. And so with these four truths, which I share, I believe that everything starts from here. When we're talking about creating deeper relationships, that four truth that I understand, and I believe is core to everything. Now, in terms of active listening, right, I think that is really important. And I was going to play a little clip, but I've just realized that this restream won't deliver the audio. So here's the link, here's the QR code. This is a clip about a Pixar movie. I think it's Pixar or Disney, called Inside Out. If you've watched it, it's about this young girl Riley, and the emotions that's going on in her mind as she is moved as she's moved from a childhood home to another a place, another neighborhood where she's going to make new friends, and and the emotions in her head: joy, sadness, anger, uh, jealousy, and I can't remember one more. So these are going on in her mind. So in this particular scene, which I would love for you to watch, right, is where Joy realizes that a lot of memories that Riley has is disappearing, and she's trying to. It's natural, as we grow up, there are things that we forget. So she's trying to save these memories, and I can't remember this individual's name. My brain's not working right now. I think it's sleep deprivation. Anyway, this elephant dude was Riley's imaginary friend, and they used to have adventures together. And that memory is disappearing, and so he's sad. As he's sad, he's crying, and he's not helping Joy. And so Joy is there trying to cheer him up, but it's not working. Instead, we have Sadness, who comes and sits next to the elephant dude, and instead of saying, why don't you cheer up, she's saying things like, it must be really hard that Riley's forgetting the adventures. It's tough that I kind of like feel for you. And Joy is saying, why are you saying all these things? You're just making him feel worse. But in fact, it had the opposite effect. By being there, by listening, by not judging or trying to solve his problem, he kind of like perked up, felt heard, felt seen, and then was able to kind of like move forward to the next step. Try and watch that clip. It's such a interesting and poignant clip that illustrate the power of active listening. So you can kind of ask yourself, what made Sadness a better listener than Joy? So I drew this some time ago, right? So this is what a lot of us do. Someone might say, "Hey, how are you?" And you say, "Fine, fine, 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 all good." Things are fine. And normally we'd say, "Oh, just dismiss. It's okay." But what we can do sometimes is ask, "No, how are you really feeling? You seem to be more subdued. You're more quiet. You haven't engaged as much. I haven't heard you. I haven't seen you on the socials. How are you really?" Right? And that might allow the other person to take off their mask and say, "No, I'm not really doing fine at all." No. And that allows people to step up into the definition of a good friend by giving them the opportunity to tell you that they'll be there for you. And I think that is a definition of kindness, right? And it really is understanding that many of us have masks on, and we're just waiting and waiting and waiting for someone to say, really, how are you? Right? Just noticing, it's so important, right? So throughout this morning, I've had many conversations about grief and loss, and this was something that has been mentioned quite a few times. Just a small bit of kindness, right? Um, okay, so in terms of active listening, the first thing is to meet them where they are, right? So let's begin with the idea of you versus me focused. When I am me focused and you're talking, what I'm likely to do is to think about something else. I'm not really listening to you, I'm listening to the chatter that's going on in my brain. But if I'm focused on you, I am likely to pay attention and use what we call at Samaritans listening wheel, to engage and to learn more about what's going on in your world, right? So here, when I'm me focused, I am usually crafting my reply to jump in to interrupt when you next pause. I'm thinking about the time when my situation was worse. I'm coming up with a solution to fix your situation. I'm mentally hurrying. Come on, that's so boring. Just get to the fun part. um, Wondering when you're going to stop because you are really boring. We're thinking about when to get my next sugar fix because I'm a bit hungry right now. So that's like it's me focused. That means I'm not listening. And you can tell when someone's me focused. It's when the eyes kind of glazed over and they go, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, those funny things where the husband goes, yes, dear, yes, dear. That's when they're me focused. They're just focused on themselves. When I'm you focused, I am listening to your story in your words, the language that you have chosen to use. Did you say angry or furious or peeved or miffed? You know, those are different levels of unhappiness, so to speak. So how the words that you use tells me how you are currently feeling. Your nonverbals in your body language, the pitch, the tone, the pace of your speech, and the emotional energy that you're putting out there. That's when I'm focused on you. I'm actually tuning in to everything you're saying, everything you're not saying, especially your energy and how you are presenting yourself. That's when I'm really focused on you. And that's what I need to be when I want to actively listen. Now, the next axis that we're going to talk about is feelings versus fact. So, if someone is sharing with you a vulnerable story, my my girlfriend sent me a Dear John letter, which is, oh, it's not me, it's you, we're going to break up, and that sort of thing, right? So if someone's sharing something with you, if I'm focused on facts, I'll be going, oh, so when did he say that? Why did he say that? Has he found somebody new? All the facts, really curious, right? If I'm focused on feelings, I will empathize with you. Okay, so there is a merit in, when you want to focus on facts and when you want to focus on feelings. So I would focus on facts when I'm trying to solve a problem. I'm in a high conflict situation, so you stay away from emotions, you just focus on the facts. When I'm dealing with a professional problem or I'm having a difficult conversation that can be potentially confrontational, so giving someone a performance review, for example, right? I focus on feelings. Oh, my English isn't very good here. I focus on feelings when I'm fully paying attention. I'm in the moment. I'm listening deeply. I am trying to get a sense of your emotional state, and when that person wants to share their vulnerable feelings. So this is more in a social context, or when you are empathizing with a team member who's going through a very difficult personal situation and sharing a very vulnerable part of themselves. You don't want to, you don't want to break their flow. You want to just be there for them, right? So there's two modes you can be. Sometimes if you're not sure, you need to ask them what would be most helpful to them. Then we have the listening versus problem solving angle. Okay, so when to do what? Okay, you're problem solving when you tell them, well, I think you should do this. When I was in your situation, I did this, and this worked for me. Right? You're in a listening mode when you are saying, things like, what do you think your options are? This is also the difference between coaching and directing. So if you have a coach, your coach is likely to ask you open-ended questions because that helps build self-awareness so that you can solve problems by just going through your own internal analysis and asking the right questions. When I focus on problem solving and directing when I'm dealing with a professional problem, and especially when I'm mentoring an inexperienced junior talent requiring guidance. So lots of guardrails, and I will say, you know, you can't do this because that will get us in legal hot water. You should stay between, just very clear boundaries of problem solving and directing for them. And I go into the coaching mode when I'm mentoring a self directed professional who are looking to grow and to develop. Right. So a lot of people ask me, so what should I do? Should I listen or should I try and solve their problem? Or, this is such a fine line. What if I do the wrong thing? Well, I think what you should do is to start with, how can I best support you right now? So, as a project manager, and also lots of people know that I volunteer for Samaritan. So, I could have my project manager hat on where I'm trying to help someone solve a problem or come to a decision, or, I need to have my Sam's hat on where I'm actually there just listening. So, sometimes I don't know what they need. So, I come right out and ask, how can I best support you right now? What is it you need from me? Do you need a listening ear? Do you need me to hold space for you to just vent and say whatever you want, even the bad things, even the things that you don't want other people to hear that you think might be judgy, like, I don't like that boss because he's too young for me and he thinks he knows too much, and what does he know? Or I don't like, my new line manager because she reminds me of my ex-wife, and anyone who looks like that person can't be at all good. All the things that you might not want to say to someone else, or you might, do you want me to hold space for you to just vent? I can do that too, unless it becomes abusive, right? There's a line to be drawn there. Or do you need me to help you find a way to solve the problem? Or you want me to help you generate some options to move forward? So any variations of these four questions will help you know how to deal with this person who's coming to you with their problem. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you now is some tips on how to listen, and this is called the shush technique that's been put together by Samaritans, and I like it because it's nice and easy. Hopefully you'll find it easy too. So the first S is to show you care, and that's by being really present, mind, body, and heart and soul. Put the phone away, change if you're face to face, make sure you're facing them and you are showing that you are there. Don't put the phone on the table, just put it away. Because when it's on the table, your eyes and your attention will still go there. You want the other person to know that you are there for them. But two, have patience. What that means is that take time to observe the body language, non-verbals, and also the really important thing is to respect the silence. This is something that a lot of people find very difficult because silence makes us uncomfortable. But when someone is sharing a vulnerable thing with you, like, Mom, I don't want kids. Mom, I'm going to get a divorce, or, I'm going to leave you now. Any of those really highly emotionally laden conversations, sometimes the other person is still trying to process how to tell you. So the silence belongs to them, where they are still trying to come up with the right words. Because remember, they are worried that they're going to be judged as well. If they tell you, Mom, I don't want to go to university. Mm, I want to get divorced because I think my marriage is not suitable. It's bound to attract some judgment. So they're trying to find the best way to phrase it. So give them time, give them space, have patience, and allow that silence to be there. So people ask me, how do I know? What if it becomes awkward? Let it be. This is not your conversation, it is their conversation. right? Use open questions. Okay, so be curious, get some context, right? Don't criticize, don't judge, don't solve their problems. I've said in a lot of the previous sessions, the two things, so I train Samaritan volunteers as well, and one of the things that they are so worried about is, what if I say the wrong thing to my caller in crisis? I might just, they might get so upset that they hang up. So I tell them, I said, the two things, if you stay away from these two things, you are likely to be in a more safe zone. And one is, don't judge, don't say, why did you do that, or really, those have so much judgment piled into them. It'll take you some time to figure it out and learn what is a judgmental phrase or body language. An eyebrow could hold so much judgment, right? Don't judge and don't solve their problems. And I think you are likely to be on a safer zone, that your caller won't be, the other person won't be upset with you, right? Say it back. And this is where you show that you have heard. This is where you confirm that you've understood, and you are giving them an opportunity to correct you if you understood wrong. So you paraphrase, you summarize, you reflect, and you label. Now, label is a word that I picked up from this master FBI negotiator. His name is Chris Voss. He wrote a book, Never Split the Difference, where he's talking about negotiating with kidnappers and hostage situations. Labeling is, in his words, are where you are, you get a sense, or you get a feeling of what someone is feeling, and you want to clarify. So you might say, you say you're fine, but I am getting a vibe from your body language that you're not very fine. Am I in the, is that wrong? Or, tell me, correct me. Or I get a feeling, I get a sense that you are not happy with this proposal. Am I right? Or, do you want to correct me? You're giving the other person an opportunity to share with you exactly what they're feeling, because their verbals and the non-verbals are incongruent. It doesn't match. So I'm like, fine, right? You can see that they're saying fine, but their body language is not. So you want to call that out, and you want to do it in a graceful way that they can come forth and tell you without them losing face. So that is quite important. And the last one is have courage. And the reason why is, you need to be prepared to ask the difficult questions and be prepared to hear the difficult answers, right? If you are not, then this is not an active listening conversation. You might want to say, why do you feel that our marriage is not working? And you need to be prepared to hear the answers, even though it might hurt you. Because if you don't, then that conversation shuts down, and it just creates more problems in the long run. And what I want to say is, when you do it right and when you're listening, what you're doing is you're helping someone sort out their feelings. You're not giving suggestions, you're not solving problems, you're not anything. You're helping them sort their feelings. And I love this. I'm just going to show you this little picture. It comes from the Samaritan's training that I've just kind of illustrated, right? So when someone is going through something, the feelings are stumbling all around, okay? What we're doing is we're helping them sort out their feelings, taking things out and going, right, how do you feel about that? Oh, that is disappointment, this is anger, this is sadness. And then they can see it all there, and they might think, yeah, I am still feeling sad, but it's coming out as anger towards my friends and family, and that's not quite right. Maybe I need help, right? So that's what I found. So some people might say, oh, Samaritans, you're just listening, you're not giving any practical help or anything. But a lot of times, just like truly being present when you're listening is all that's needed. I can tell you that because So many of us go through life and we think we're not enough. We just, imposter syndrome and all of that, and worried about what people will think about me, about what I say or what I do. We all want to know we're enough. How do you show someone that they matter? You listen. You sit there and you be totally present, because in mind, body, heart, and soul, put the phone away. I'm listening to you. What you say matters. I'm hearing everything you're saying and everything you're not saying, right? This is how you do it. This is how you tell someone that they matter and that you see them, right? Because, when someone truly listens to you, this is how you feel. You feel important, you feel heard, you feel like you matter. And especially when they don't try and fix your problem, they don't try and cheer you up and ask you to be positive, and all those other like slightly toxic positivity things, right? So with that, right, I'm just going to share you a few things. I hope this has been useful, right? What we always do at SAMS is, once we have training, we always have skills practice. If you listen to my conversation with Safia earlier on about lessons from a crisis hotline, she volunteers at the listening place. They also do a lot of skills practice, and that's what really important, right? So once you've taken this on board, right, one of the things that I get the groups to do, and so let me see, if you're the listener, right, when you're listening to someone, try and figure out how many times you have to stop yourself from interrupting them because you want to tell your side of the story, give your opinion on why this breed of dog is just not the right one to have, or judgment as to, oh, why are they going to prom and spending so much money on that, and are they trying to solve a problem? Just notice yourself when you're listening. Okay, when you're speaking or you're sharing something, see whether the listener is judging you. Are they trying to solve your problem, or did they make you feel hurt? So just do this for the next week and try and notice your listening skills and other people's listening skills. And if you're going through this exercise with someone else, right, so they've gone through this, you can practice it. And some of the things that I get people to practice are, think of someone who's made an impact and shared it with your partner. And the second one is quite deep one. It is share an event that changed you as a person. Now it could be, change in many different ways. So share that and see. And if you are in the presence of someone who truly listens, you can share like the most painful thing and still feel lighter at the end of it. If you share a vulnerable story and you come away not feeling lighter, then that exchange has not been um, uh, a useful one for you. So I hope that you're able to practice some active listening, and I hope that this has been useful. I noticed that I've got some chat, some messages. Let me see. So I wasn't looking at the messages, so let me just um, read. Basanti, um, my lovely branch director, has made a question for me. Where do I go for support? Um, I am so lucky that my lovely husband is a very strong support for me, but also my Samaritans family. I can't ask for a better group of people who genuinely wants to know how I'm doing. Like, I know when they say, how are you doing, I know they genuinely want to know. A lot of people, not my friends of course, because I've got great friends, but a lot of people, when they say, how are you doing, they don't really want to know, but my Sam's family do. And I don't hold back. When I need support, I know who to go to. And I get it in return. So I feel so lucky. So I think being a Samaritan's volunteer has given me far more than I've given it. So that is quite you know uh, lucky for me, right? um Yes, I think that's all. Thank you everyone for the lovely messages, and I hope that that has been useful for those of you who are tuning in. Um, as I mentioned before, just learning how to truly listen has made such a big impact on my personal life and also my professional life. So, yeah, hang on a sec. I need to remember to do this because I'm just so bad at this. Right. So remember to there you go. Remember to donate, please, if you found this useful. We need money to keep the branch open, keep the lights on, pay for our telephony, our CRM, our biscuits, and our chocolates to keep our lovely volunteers through the night. Sometimes when we have a tough call, I am going to go for that Kit Kat, even if it's 1 a.m. All right. So we've got volunteers who do this sort of things, and to keep our branch supplied with sugar. We do need sugar. It's not the best, but I'm sorry when things are falling everywhere. No one's going to care about how many calories is in that Kit Kat. Anyway, so donate, please. And I hope you found this useful. And I will see you at my next one at 11 o'clock. All right. Bye. Oh, hang on. There's another chat. Oh, cool. Bye, everyone.